Hey everyone, Erik here. Today I'm going to be doing some live pouring and fluid art, go over the recipe and my process for making my fluid art. It did take me some trial and error to get to the point where I was able to get the recipe just right, so I figured I'd share some tips on how to get started. So for today, we're going to be pouring on a wood panel. These are pretty inexpensive. I get mine at Michael's. So this is just a rounded panel. Looks like this on the back. And then we're also going to be using a small 6x6 canvas, gallery wrapped. You can get these pretty cheap at Michael's, Walmart, pretty much anywhere that sells canvas, and they come in a pack of 4. You will also need some gloves. You need some popsicle sticks, some cups to separate your colors in, filtered water, and Floetrol. Flood Floetrol, I got this on Amazon. It is available on Prime, and I believe this whole bottle, this was about $11. And you also need treadmill belt lubricant. I got this on Amazon as well. This has worked the best to create cells and the effects that I really like when I'm creating my fluid art. I will leave links to the products in the description below so you can make some awesome art. You can also use reusable jars from your kitchen instead of using cups. I do find that this is just easier. They do come in big packs at Costco, but if you're trying to be environmentally friendly, this would be the way to go. Once you start pouring, you definitely won't want to stop. You can pour on many different objects, including but not limited to records, wood slices. Today I'm going to be creating 2 pours in the same colors. We're going to be using Mars Black, Neon Pink, Titanium White, and Metallic Silver. First, you'll want to get your colors ready. You'll need 1 cup for every color you're going to be mixing. Once you've got your cups ready, we will begin mixing. I'm actually going to be using Michael's Artist Loft Flow Acrylic. This is basically the same as their acrylic colors, but with some flow aid. It's already a little bit thinned out. These are my preferred paints for creating fluid art. Not going to use too much black as it goes a long way. And for the white, I'm going to mix quite a bit, and if I end up having extra, I can store it. They do have these little squeeze bottles. This one has some pre-mixed silver, and I got this particular bottle at Harbor Freight. With metallic colors, I do find that you end up having to use a little more silicone in the mixture and thin them out a little bit more. Now that we've got our colors where we want them, we're going to start mixing. The products I've used in the past, this is 3-in-1 silicone. You can get this at Walmart or any hardware store. This is great. It does create smaller cells though, but it is definitely a cheap alternative and I highly recommend it. I have also used Elmer's School Glue and Elmer's Glue All. The Glue All has been the one that's worked the best for me, and you can get these for about 50 cents. This gives me a lot of cells and is very reactive to being torched. This is a good start. Instead of using glue, I now use Floetrol. There isn't an exact science to the recipe, but I am going to try my best just to explain how to do the color mixtures to get the paint to the right consistency so you can get those cells that you're looking for. So we'll start here with white. For me, I use about 1 part Floetrol to 3 parts paint, sometimes 1 to 1. It just depends on the color that I'm using and the consistency and the brand. And that's why there isn't an exact recipe to fluid art. We're going to be adding about 5 drops of this in each color. For the white, I only use about 3 or 4 drops. We're going to take some of our water. I start with maybe 2 ounces of water, and then I add more as needed. So you don't want to over stir, but you want to make sure all the components are stirred evenly. We've got this right where we want it. You want the paint to come off of your stick in a continuous stream. So see, this is too thick. Paint still breaks apart. So we're going to add a little more water. There we go. See how that continuous stream comes off the stick? So the white is done. There we go. Put about 7 drops in that color. What I've done here is I've actually thinned this one out too much, I think. I'm going to add a bit more paint to this one. With the metallics, they may give you some trouble. If you're just starting out, you may want to avoid metallics until you've figured out your recipe and the consistency that works for you. As you're mixing metallics, you'll note that it takes a little bit longer for them to break apart and accept the components that you've mixed into them. They may become separated, but that's okay. Still a little off on this one. I'm going to let it rest for a moment. Now I typically allow my paints to sit for at least a half an hour just to accept the components, so let's let them rest and we'll come back and get started. Now that we've allowed our paints to rest, you're going to go ahead and want to get something to pour in. So you can pour on your table. I have a carpeted studio, but this is a vinyl tablecloth. You can pour directly on here, but you are going to need to do some cleanup. Typically for my videos, I just use simple oven pans. You can get these at Costco, Walmart, wherever you can get baking things, but I found a case of these for $20 at Costco, and they've been the best thing ever. I believe they're 4 inches deep. They're really great for pouring. Another bonus of this is that once the paint's dry, you can actually peel it off and use it for other projects. So now we're just going to be using a simple cookie cooling sheet, just a rack. Just lay this flat across. And so when the canvas is laid here, all the paint that's dripping down will just go through there. You can tell how much I've used it. You will want to get a new cup to mix your paint mixture in. So we can just go ahead and put this here. It's pretty sturdy. I always like to start my mix with white first. Just gives it a good base so that when you flip the cup over, the white's going to come out last and it'll be a layer on top for the colors to pop up through. And I do want the pink to blend in with the white in this case, so I'm not going to separate them by silicone. You see as it pours in, it pours all the way to the bottom since it's heavier. I'm just going to spin it around a little bit. Create some nice swirls. You can actually already see the cells forming in the cup. I'm going to take about 2 or 3 drops of silicone and pour it here. I want to create a layer or barrier between this and the black. And I'm going to also pour a little more white in between the colors. And you don't want to use too much black at a time because it does muddle your paints, especially if you're not separating them with the treadmill silicone. And so from here I'm just going to play with layering, putting silicone in between the layers that I want to be separated in my pour. And you'll notice if you just let this sit for a bit, the heavier colors will sink to the bottom and you'll see cells popping to the top. Alright, so now that I've let my paint sit a moment, I'm going to go ahead and get my canvas on here and get ready to flip. Today I'm going to be doing a flip cup method where I just take the cup, put it on the canvas, and flip the whole thing over. There are different methods you can do, like a dirty pour where you just take this mixed cup the same way you have it and just pour across the canvas. You can also do a swirl pour. There's a bunch of different techniques you can use. Today we're just going to do a simple flip cup. So I've got my canvas ready to go. I'm going to take this cup, put the canvas over it. You can actually see the imprint of the cup underneath. So if you want it in the center, you can position it wherever you like. Just take this whole thing and make pressure against the cup so that when you flip, you'll have suction there, and you're just going to do a quick motion. We're just going to pick up the cup and let it go. I did mix quite a bit of paint for this canvas though, so we'll probably end up using the rest on another 6x6 or on another material. And you'll see we've got really good cells forming here. Just let this all spill out. Now I don't want to lose some of that pink, so I'm just going to grab it before it can kind of go any further. And when I move my canvas, I flow in a circle so that I don't lose the roundness and the original shape of the cells there. And don't worry so much about the corners. Sometimes you'll see it's a little bit hard to get your paint on the corners the right way, but you can always take your cup and go over those corners and kind of refine it later. Got some really good cells going there. Now you also don't want to leave too much paint on the canvas, or not tilt so much, because then you get crazing where your paint will crack if it's too thick on there. So right now I can tell by the amount of paint I have on there, if I leave it, it's going to end up cracking a little bit. Just gonna keep moving it. You'll see these really cool cells starting to pop out in there. Just going to set it down. And you want to make sure that your canvas is sitting on an even surface, otherwise all of the paint will just move in one direction. Then when you come to it the next day, your painting will just be a mucky mess. Just going to go through here and get these corners that we missed. You can even take a popsicle stick, just go around the corners. You can even pick some up from down underneath and just kind of swipe it to cover up that bare canvas. So now that I've got all the corners covered up, I'll just tilt a little more, get it exactly where I want it. And of course you don't have to flow in this circular motion. I just like to keep the original shape of those cells there. This one's coming out pretty symmetrical, but I really like the movement. Okay, so now we're going to pour on that wooden panel, but this time we're just going to do a dirty pour technique. For this one, I'm going to try to put white between every color because I really want to layer it so that when we do the dirty pour, we have almost stripes running down the whole piece. So now that I've got the desired layers that I'm going for, we're going to go ahead and pour on our prepared wood panel. And this time we're just going to do a dirty pour all the way across. I'm going to take this and tilt. And again, I'm going to use my circular motion. Great thing about these flow panels is that they're hollow or cut out underneath. So you have somewhere where your hands can hold on to this. There we go. You'll see we've got these stripes running along the piece. And again, I don't want the paint to craze. So see the silver starting to pop through? I don't want that cracking, leathery effect on my paint, so I'm just going to keep pouring. But I also don't want to lose all these awesome cells we've got going on. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you have any questions or tips on how you do your fluid art, please share with me in the comments section below. Again, I will have a link to all the products I used in this video so that you can make your own fluid art. Find me everywhere on social media at Erik Quinn Art, and have a great day.